Hello. Let me just share.
Okay.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Gambia, new. Let me just share this on the page. Okay. Let me just share this. 1 second. Give me a second, please.
No worries. Take your time.
Share public now. Because when we're on, we cannot see basically on Facebook, we cannot read the comments or any of sort. So, Lulu Moi, what we normally see on this.
Right.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Gambia, ñu ngi leen a nuyu di leen sant di leen gërëm. Ñëwaat rek tey di waxtaan ak yéen comme niñ ko dee defee ajuma bu nekk di ñëw di waxtaanee doxalini réew mi tey nag maa ngi fi am Abdoulaye Jawo, a member of PDOIS, pour ñu ñëw waxtaanee li nga xamante ne mooy current issues yi doxalini réew. Bala ñoo commencé nag programme bi tey ñun ñëpp gis nañ li nga xamante ne mu ngi xew fan yi muy loo xamante ne ñu ngi ko masawu ñi nga xam ne dal na leen mooy a lot of some people lost their lives during the windstorm bi nga xamante ne am na Gambia. Ñeneen ñi they lost their properties, lives, and a lot of damages was caused by this storm. ñu ngi leen a masawu di jaale family yi ñi nga xamante ne ñàkk nañ seen bakken. Abdoulaye maa ngi laa wax ne nga nuyoo. Say yes. We're gonna be speaking Wolof. I'm gonna be speaking Wolof and English anyway. Abdullah obviously is more comfortable to speak in English, but notwithstanding, when sometimes I might speak English and Wolof. So Abdullah. So Abdullah, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ida. I'm happy to be here. My name is Abdoulaye Jawo, Gambian, and a member of the Doi Party. I come from Foni Bondali district, but also based in Brikama in Kombo. I'm living in the United Kingdom, in London, where I have been for almost 15 years now. My specialization in terms of professionalism is development and project planning. What I studied at master's level. I have been to various parts of the Gambia when working with ActionAid, where I worked for almost 14 years before I left the Gambia in 2005. So I have a good understanding at the time in terms of the development challenges in the Gambia, and happy to talk about those. And condolences to the people who lost their lives, and sorry to everyone who has a victim or is a victim of the windstorm. That clearly also includes myself in terms of some structural damages, but we would talk more about that. Happy to be here. Yeah.
Yes, I think. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Abdullah. I think most of us, especially some of us who are living, who have homes in the, I think it's the western region, isn't it? We're mostly affected. So even myself, because I was told yesterday, my family called me and they said that there is a mango tree at the back fell on our kitchen. So I think most people who are living in that area are affected. So ñu ngi leen a masawu. So today we will be talking about the windstorm bi nga xamante ne affect nañu bari bari. We will also talk about the attestation bi nga xamante ne IEC moo lembe réew mi fi mu nekk dinañ wax loolu, and also we will also talk about the alcalos and the chiefs yi nga xamante ne they recently visited the State House. So firstly, we're gonna start with the windstorm Abdallah. Gis nañ ne lii affect na sa. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, we've seen that this is mostly affected the western region, the Combo areas. I just wanted you to kind of, if you can tell us, what do you think is the cause of this? And also, you know, what can we do as a country should such things happen to prevent such damages, or perhaps try to prevent the loss of lives? Because these things, some people can argue that these things happen because it's natural. Other people are also saying that some of the causes perhaps might be linked to deforestation. So what do you think are the causes, and some of the things we can do as a nation, especially the government, to prevent some of the damages that happen, or perhaps loss of lives, Abdallah?
Yeah, thank you very much, Aida. I'm not a specialist or an expert in natural disasters, emergencies, or climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the technicalities of what actually caused the windstorm, I think we would talk about what is needed to be in place in terms of mitigating, adapting, and being prepared for such emergencies. But clearly, what is evident is that globally, every country, every community is struggling with the current situation of climate change, which is precisely the impact of human activity on the environment, which has created imbalance between what used to exist and what currently exists. So the issue of deforestation, the issue of emission of gases, which causes global warming, are all factors which contribute to natural disasters generally. In terms of being prepared for such situations, I think it would be very important for the Gambia to have a well-equipped meteorological unit. I understand I remember in the 80s where they would used to give out information. I don't know whether that is still the case in terms of what the weather would be like, whether it is going to rain 80s and 90s, whether it's going to rain that day, and in which part of the country is going to be affected. So clearly having that strong scientific basis to be able to make forecasts as to what we should expect from the environment, from the effect of the environment that we are living in terms of what changes are expected and what those changes might create, the impact that those changes might create on the lives of the Gambian people. I think that's very important to have such capacity and capability to be able to make such forecasts, which would also mean enabling people to be prepared for such eventualities. But it's not short-term preparation. It requires longer-term preparation in terms of what is happening around the world, because that's precisely what other countries are doing, to be able to forecast what is likely to happen and ensure that they are prepared, they have the proper adaptation and mitigation strategies and systems and structures in place to ensure that the impact of what is going to happen would not be very severe, but also to reduce that event even happening, to mitigate it, to reduce its impact, but also to ensure that it does not harm human beings as what has happened in the Gambia. What I understand from, for example, Reuters is they reported that about 10 people have died.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
1,500 people are displaced. I think here they're quoting government figures. You understand there is a natural disaster management authority. Would be interesting to see their strategies and capabilities. Unfortunately, I couldn't see their current strategy. The one that I saw is, I think one would say is outdated because it's 2007. But I think having those systems and having those structures in terms of scientific basis to be able to forecast what is likely to happen and be prepared for it is very, very important.
Yes, I think Abdullah, you make a very important point there, because as me and you are in UK, we're not really used to such weathers. But I think people who are in America might be used to certain weathers, or perhaps even worse. But to kind of limit the damage and the loss of lives, exactly what you just said is what they do. Usually, they will alert the people, because I don't think that we have that. I don't think that we reach that level yet in Gambia. But at least, like you said, if back in the days they had the weather forecast, like they said that they will be able to predict that such weather, like windstorm, is on its way, people will be alerted. Perhaps such damages would have been actually minimized. They could minimize the damage and also even prevent the loss of lives. But I don't think this government, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say whether they did or they don't have it or they still have it or not. But I don't think the people were prepared. Just like you said, we don't really know the exact figure so far, how many people were affected. But just like you said, I've also read somewhere that it's 10 people who died. But the exact figure of those people who are actually affected, we don't know. Because like I said, myself, the victims, so many victims, there are so many people who are displaced today. And I saw the government are actually kind of, seeking for help in terms of humanitarian help, because this is what they're seeking now. So we're saying that just exactly what you said. I totally agree that we should be able to have something in place where people will be prepared. Because if the weather was, if this was a lot, people were alerted, perhaps people will kind of, prevent, like they could kind of, put stuff around, like maybe barricade their homes or what have you. This is what we see in America. Or perhaps people would have moved to another area to because I mean, these are properties. You could always replace your properties, but lives cannot be replaced. At least people would have been moved in another area, kind of like, to try to prevent them from dying. But unfortunately, in Gambia today, I don't think we're moving with times. I think we're going backwards instead of moving in times. Because if you're saying that this is back in the 80s, maybe, I'm not really sure. Back in the 80s, if we had weather forecasts where people will be told or people will be alerted in advance, today I would have expected that we would have been, with times and with technology to be able to, exactly, more advanced, to be able to tell people, but unfortunately not. People are still scared. And we also seen that lights was cut out. Some of the poles were on the street as well. I don't know, people were saying that all night, 24 hours, there was no light. Obviously, this is expected, but I think, just like you said, we should really work on how, this is what we're saying. That's why we said, doxalini réew mi mooy waxtaan bi, naka la ñoo doxalee réew su ko defee ñu mun a xam naka la ñoo prepare pour mun a deal with some of these disasters. I don't know now what the government is doing in terms of helping the victims who were affected, because they are looking for money as usual. When the money comes, are they going to put it in use? Are they going to help those who are affected? Is there a place where people can call in to actually register that, you know, we were affected, this is what we lost? How is this government, what do you think, in your opinion, how the government is, you know, how can they manage this? What's your opinion on that? I know that you said that you are not an expert, but we're just, you know, because of your expertise and your experience, this is why we're asking you, what do you think? And that, you know, perhaps somebody is listening, how to manage this, how they can help these people out of this situation. If you can just briefly say that, so that we can move on to the next topic, because we only have 1 hour and we have other things to cover.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Yaida. Not an expert in what causes the windstorm, I would say. But in terms of
but you can give advice,
what need to be in place, policy wise, structure rally. I have my own ideas around that, because that's precisely what my work is focused on in terms of addressing problems of humankind in regards to development and planning for projects. And where projects exist, it means there is something that needs to be done about it. The reality is that there are just too many significant failures when it comes to government in the Gambia. In the first instance, the focus is one thing, but also understanding what causes this. And if it happens, what is going to be the likely damage that it would cause? How could we avert that damage? All those are issues that need to be interrogated and solutions put in place. So essentially, it is important to have the structures, proper buildings, proper houses in place. One cannot be able to enforce that as long as poverty exists in the Gambia, as long as people have the capacity only to construct the type of structures that exist in the Gambia. So therefore, the need to have a better system that would enable the people to have the capacity to construct structures that would withstand such events, such natural disasters, which means creation of standards in terms of housing, types of houses that should be approved. Every house that is to be constructed should have a plan. It should meet certain standards before the construction is approved. We don't have those proper systems in place.
No.
It is a whole lot of failure in terms of governance, because those who have led the country have not seen the immense work that is needed to ensure that Gambia becomes the Gambia that everybody wants to see. So as long as people do not have the capacity to be able to construct structures, and the government physical planning, for example, or any other department that is responsible to ensuring or for approving construction, does not have the capacity to enforce any laws that exist, which would require one to meet certain standards in terms of construction, the problem would persist. And as long as people do not have the adequate income to be able to meet those standards, the problem is going to persist. So it's a whole array of interlinkages between what naturally happens and the impact that natural event would have on society. Because as human beings, that's precisely why we are human beings, because we have the capacity to investigate, to look at natural phenomena, understand it, and ensure that it works for us. It does not create an impact that is going to be harmful, that is going to damage what we have constructed. But we do not have those systems. That would continue to be an issue. And in a proper governance existing in the Gambia, it would also mean people would have the capacity to insure their buildings. There would be insurance policies that people can buy, because clearly some natural events would be difficult to mitigate. So if it happens, like in UK, for example, we have windstorms. I remember when I arrived first time going to university, I used to struggle with the winds. It was that high, but you don't see that type of damage because of the structures that exist. So it's a governance failure. I know there is a natural disaster management authority, but it can only do what the governance environment allows it to do.
Definitely. Definitely, I totally agree with you. I agree that there should be standards on how buildings, the structures, and all that. Definitely, just like you said over here as well, we have standards because if you build a house there, you're not allowed to put certain level of the building. We should all have uniform structural buildings, and also if you want to build something or put something, you have to take permission and all that. I think that is it. But unfortunately, also we also need to have people who know how, who are able to sit down and think about all these policies you're talking about to be able to implement it. But if we don't have the right people in place, unfortunately, even themselves, they will not be able to advise the government to be able to come up with these kind of standards you're talking about. Unfortunately, sadly, that is our problem. We have people in place who are unable to think like you're thinking, who are unable to come up with these kind of ideas you're coming about, talking about, and also to be able to implement it. Unfortunately, this is why we're saying that the likes of you, we have the likes of you in PDOIS. This is only PDOIs who are going to be thinking about these kind of things that you're talking about, policies and ideas that you have. So that's why we said that Gambia, as you can hear, Jao here is a PDOIs member and somebody who has huge experience, and he know his stuff, and you can hear him. And this is what we have. We have loads of people in PDOIs who know their stuff. Therefore, if we have PDOIs government, that is, we are here talking about how governance is run. We don't just want a government that don't even know how, who will sit there and when problems happen, they are seeking for help, looking for money, and when the money comes, they're not gonna put the money where they requested the money for. So we're saying at Gambia that these are some of the examples we give you all the time. We need a government who know what they're doing, who know that the people who elected them, they are relying on them. They are relying on them to come up with ideas and projects and programs that will help them. Because, like he said, poverty is one of the reasons why some people can't even have money to be able to put the proper roofing, that when the wind blow, we've seen how many people we've seen their roof flown all the way to God knows where we saw it. So because people can't afford that, so really the standard of living people are thinking of how to eat the next meal before they spend thousands and thousands on their roof. Therefore, we want to say that we want to eradicate poverty, and the only political party who can eradicate poverty in Gambia is definitely PDOIs. And on that note, we will move on to the next topic. And some of these things, we are going to explore them over and over again. But today, we just want to make sure that we just briefly, I'm sure everybody had what Abdullah said. We will move on to the next topic. And the next topic here, Abdullah, is the issue of attestation. We talked about it previously in our show. And today, you have a different perspective, and I want to invite you. That's why I wanted to invite you, so that you can tell us your own view of this attestation problem. I've said what I said in the past, and I will invite you to tell us your own view. What do you think of the issue of attestation and some of the issues surrounding this attestation? Today, I was reading that some people took the community. I think some of the community or some of the councillors took the mayor to court or IEC or whatever, I was just reading before I came that her lawyers are wanting the court to throw the case out, and also to, is it 1 million or something, to demand 1 million to pay her damages of 1 million. What do you think? Does the IEC has the right, although a lot of people are arguing that the law is silent when it comes to the issue of attestation for the mayor in Banjul, but other people are also saying that it has always been the case that the mayor has always been the one who is issuing attestation in Banjul. So what do you think? Can you just give us your opinion on the attestation issue? Thank you, Abdallah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aida. Just one more point in terms of the windstorm. I think it's not really lack of expertise in the Gambia. It's the governance system. For example, a senior staff member in the Natural Disaster Management Authority. I studied in the same university with that person. So it's not actually lack of expertise.
They don't have this. Is the support and the support that they need.
Is the system that exists. If you see African medical doctors, the work that they are doing, the Pfizer, for example, you have a Nigerian scientist who was involved in its development. If he was in Nigeria, the system doesn't exist to enable him to exercise and implement, practicalize his expertise. So is the system that we have in the Gambia, and that is precisely why a lot of the things that are happening are mainly symptoms of the failure of governance in the Gambia, like in most African countries. In terms of the attestation, I think that's precisely the same issue, because what we are dealing with are merely symptoms of failure. The issue of saying someone would attest for somebody to have a voter's card is a shame for previous governments, for the PPP government, for the APRC government, and currently is a shame for the Barrow government. Because one of the basic requirements of a government is to be able to establish the legal identity of its citizens. Because what we're talking about here is about citizenship. And it is the legal identity of Gambian citizens that we are talking about. So essentially, we're saying that for 56 years, Gambia still does not have the proper system to be able to accord its own citizens their citizenship. What type of country are we talking about? That is the problem that we are talking about. Everything else we're talking about are symptoms, and we spending a whole lot of energy, resources, taking this one to court. The mayor should not do that. Mere symptoms that we are dealing with. What we need to have in place is to have a system where every Gambian that is born, or every other person who is naturalized as a Gambian, has the required documentation to show that that person is a Gambian. In UK, for example, if you have a child, within 42 days, you have to register. You have to get a birth certificate for that child, because the birth is registered, and you have a midwife who is following that process. And if you don't register it, you get a letter to go to
consequences. There might be consequences because it's a must. You have to.
It's mandatory, but you cannot make anything mandatory if the system doesn't exist to ensure that people are able to do what is mandatory. That is the fundamental problem in the Gambia. And we spend a whole lot of time talking about mayor that, taking mayor to court. What we need is to have a government that has the responsibility, that sees itself as having the responsibility to give Gambian people one of their most basic rights, which is that they are Gambian citizens. 52 years, we still don't have that situation in the Gambia.
It's a shame.
It's a shame for previous governments. And it is something that needs to be addressed, and we should not be spending time amazing seeing on Facebook and other things that are happening. Because I think in Banjul previously, the electoral law provided for 5 elders providing attestation. I think that was
Okay.
moved, and the issue of Banjul becomes an issue now. But that is not the problem. The problem is we should have a system that would be able to establish Gambian identity, that would be able to accord Gambian citizens their basic rights as citizens of the Gambia, legal identity. Because otherwise we're talking about stateless people. The
Of course.
government is so ineffective that we have Gambians who are stateless, who do not have legal identity. That is a huge problem, because globally, complaints are abound that globally you have about 10 million people who are stateless, born in their own country, but they don't have documentation. Others have fled their country, lost all their documentation. But those are situations that are beyond those individuals' capacity. The current situation is the incompetence of governments that we have had in the Gambia, and we still have in the Gambia. That is the problem, and that need to be addressed. We cannot have
I think
stateless Gambia.
You are spot on, Abdullah, and the same government who are supposed to be thinking about how to address this. They are doing the blame game as usual, because we heard the president recently was talking at State House, and he was talking about this, and he was pointing fingers at the other people and talking instead of talking about really the failure of the system. Just like you said, we need a system in place, like in UK, for example. Just to add that, you said 40 something days, and the reason why you're giving 42 days is free for you to go and register. You can register free and you get a birth certificate. But if you stay after that, out of that day, you have to go and pay to register. You see, that will encourage people to go and register on time to avoid making payments, right? Because most people really, human being, right? Most of us want free, right? And if something is free for you to do it clearly, you're going to make sure you go and do it on time to avoid the payment. And I think rightly so. Gambia, on the other hand, even in Banjul, it's a shame that in Banjul, the capital, we're saying that in Banjul, our capital, people are born in Banjul, the capital, they cannot even verify whether these people are citizens or not. Sadly, we have to wait for the mayor or for somebody to attest that you are actually a Banjulian or you're a citizen. This is it. We need a system in place, because it is a shame. 50 something years now since we had our independence. Come on, this is a shame. So it's the government responsibility to make sure that we have a system in place where everybody is registered when at the point of birth, or perhaps a couple of weeks down the line. This is it. But in other areas, we can understand why other areas, because people are saying that, oh, Banjul is always there. So what do you think? What is the reason why, even in other areas, do you think at this day and age, even some of the villages that we still have the alcalos who are still issuing attestation? I mean, still, there is no excuse. Even the villages, people are saying that back then, because there was no hospitals or there was no blah, blah, blah for people to register, that's why it was only Banjul. That's why in the constitution, it's silent on when it comes to Banjul. But the other areas, they're saying that, oh yeah. Do you think even in other areas still, we should still have that there?
That's what
Do
I'm
we still
saying.
need that?
Because you're talking about stateless persons, the Gambia producing stateless citizens, stateless persons, the Gambia not having the proper system in place to ensure that every Gambian has legal identity is a very basic function of a government. Otherwise, why do we have a government? Why do we have a country? If we are not
And
able
for
to
2
say this
million,
is a citizen and this is
only
this,
2 million people, to be honest, we're only 2 million. It's not even a lot of people. This is, like that, it could be fixed easily, really.
exactly, is a degradation of other Gambians where you have to go and queue for a fellow Gambian who has attained his or her citizenship, like your very self, to determine whether you are a citizen or not by looking at you and by asking you questions. Is a degradation of Gambians. It should not
Indeed.
happen. And those who are
No.
assigned to do that task, well, how could you know, for example, in Brikama, of more than 200,000 people, or hundreds of thousands of people, for instance, how would one individual be able to determine whether X is a Gambian or X is not a Gambian? Precisely creating a situation where people might be put in certain circumstances where they might be violating the law. Because giving attestations to non-Gambians, whether wittingly or unwittingly, is an offense because you're providing false information.
And that has came up over and over again, because this is
Exactly.
some of the issues that we have. This is why we've seen in some areas where some people, political parties are going there. Some people are claiming that people are intimidating them because they are actually claiming that some people have been given attestation and they're not citizen of the country. Others are trying to just saying that, oh, just like you said, people are looked at. Because I heard when the mayor was saying that, when she look at you and if she's satisfied that you are her citizen, she will give it to you. If she look at you, she's not satisfied, she will not give it to you. Just like, I don't know how you can tell whether somebody is a Senegalese by mere looking at them, or a Freetonian or what have you. I mean, I will struggle to do that, because as far as I'm concerned, we all look the same, because we all have the same surname, we look the same. Unless somebody, and even by somebody speaking, I wouldn't be able to tell whether you're there. You could have lived there for so many years and you have adopted the accent of that country. So therefore, that will not that shouldn't be how we should be able to attest to somebody being a citizen. And also the even the president, he's out there, because I had the audio that the video that was going around, that some people have been intimidated. We saw what happened in Kanilai. We saw what happened in other areas. I understand that political parties do have the right. They are within their right, and the law allow them for them to go to polling station and have their agent there to monitor what is happening. But the way in which some people are carrying, whatever duties they're doing there, I think it should be looked at. And in that, I'm saying that even the country, the law of the country, why are people breaking the laws, and what is the government doing about that, and what is other political parties, and what are we going to do about that? We've seen that happening. That's why we saw what happened in Kanila and all that, because of this whole issue of attestation and who is citizen and who's not citizen. What do you think about what's going on in there as well?
Yeah, I think it's the same situation. Like I mentioned, just presenting yourself and somebody uses his or her whims and caprices to decide whether you are a Gambian or not. It's a degradation of every Gambian who is put in such a situation. It should not happen. We need to evolve as a country after 56 years to have a system that is efficient and effective to establish legal identity of every Gambian or any person who wants to become a Gambian. One need to follow the law. No individual should have the vested powers to decide on what the law should decide. That is the law that should decide that. But in order for the law to decide that, we need to have the system in place. Because like I said, giving that role to alcalos, for example, you making alcalos or any other person that is given that responsibility vulnerable to potentially violating the law by potentially giving false attestations. attestations to people who might not be Gambians. So as a result, it is again a reaction of a failure of a system that should have been in place more than 5 decades ago. That is why you have some people going around asking people about their identity. That is harassment. That is abuse.
Indeed.
It should not happen. It should not happen. And it's amazing that you have head of state complaining about other people being harassed or Gambian citizens being abused and doing nothing about it. Not making a statement that it should be put to a stop, but instead is complaining about it. It just shows the incompetence and incapacity of what currently exists in the Gambia. In terms of going around to check what is going on, everybody has that right. You cannot stop, nobody can stop anybody to visit anywhere in the Gambia, as long as one is not a danger to the place that is being visited. That is the situation. But again, because of what, the incompetence of government to have a system to establish legal identity of Gambians, you have all these issues. We continue dealing with systems, failure of systems, the symptoms of problems, instead of addressing the real problems. And you spend a whole lot of time and resources on that, which could have gone over the years to put the system that is required in place. But a lot of political party using their vehicles going around, which could be used for something else, for instance, if the system was in place.
Yeah, you're right, Abdullah. I notice you use the word system a lot. And this is why the system is broken. That is what you keep using the word system. And it is very important for Gambia to understand that all these failures and everything that has been happening since 2016 is because the Gambian people and the coalition was supposed to come and fix the system that has been broken. The system is broken. They were supposed to come and fix this system. But unfortunately for us, we have people who came in, they were not interested in fixing this system. And this is what PDIS is saying, that system change. We do not just need a regime change, we need a system change. And that system exactly is what it is. We don't have a system in place. We don't have a system, and we have incompetent people who are at the top who doesn't know what they're doing, and they don't even have the institutions, everything we needed all these reforms to be done, but they didn't. That is why even the system, we have laws in Gambia, but the system is broken. That is why the police, those people who are in place to be able to implement the law to ensure that these people who are going around breaking the law, intimidating people, harassing people, these are all people who are breaking the law. And if we had a system in place, the police would have been empowered to be able to go there and arrest these people and put them to book. But unfortunately, Gambia, the system is broken. That is why we have a country today, a country that do not even have no rule of law. Everybody will go, most people are out there doing whatever they want to do, and they're getting away with it. Because what we're seeing today, Gambia, it has been happening since 2017. Because when this government came in, when they came in, everything we've seen today, it was happening. But unfortunately, most people turn a blind eye. Because if it doesn't affect us, we don't want to talk about it. If it doesn't affect our political party, we don't talk about it. We just ignore it. And also, another thing is, this is why they say, be careful what you wish for. Because you might be in government today, what you are enjoying because you are in power, enjoying it. You will be harassing people. But if you're out of government, somebody might use those same laws that you ignore. Those same laws that were there, that we were talking about, that we wanted to go there and change these laws. We wanted to go and change the system, but it was okay for some people. I'm not going to be sitting here naming names. We've seen what happened to Buzumbala. We've seen what happened to other places. These people were the same people who was going around intimidating people then, harassing people, beating up people in the street for wearing mere t-shirt, other political party t-shirt. We've seen it in 2017. We've seen it in most communities. They were in government. They were enjoying it. Today, the same people are affected. They are out of government. They are going to some areas. They are telling them that you can't come here. Just like you said, every Gambian has the right to go anywhere they want to go in Gambia. Nobody should be stopped to go anywhere in Gambia. But unfortunately today, we have a broken system. That is why we saw a president stood in front of the people. Instead of talking about something else, he is there. The Garuwale wante, the hulo enyenente, momoy the president, he should be the one who is ensuring that the people in place, the police, the security services are implementing the laws. And unfortunately, we're not doing it, Jawo. So this is what we said, that we need a system change and we need to have people who are competent to be able to implement our laws that are there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the issue of the expectations of the coalition government is something that one can speak on, because there were huge expectations. What was planned for or envisaged in terms of electoral reform, we will not be experiencing what we are currently experiencing. But the problem in the Gambia is when something is working for you, whether the majority are affected or impacted negatively, some people don't care much about that. And that was one of the reasons why we have or had the huge betrayal of what was envisaged by the coalition members, those who have a vision for the country in terms of what need to be put in place to ensure that every Gambian would be proud to call the Gambia their own. Interestingly, it is some of the people who have contributed to that betrayal who are now complaining about the impact of that betrayal. Short-sightedness. That's why we need leaders with a vision, leaders who have the interests of the people at heart, not leaders who would go to any level to want to perpetuate themselves in power. That is a significant problem that we have in the Gambia, and we have in other African countries as well. For example, you look at Ajame amending the 50% clause, and there was a huge complaint about that. What was the solution? Majority of Gambians to vote against him. Nobody will complain. He will go. Simple majority. He is out. And that was what happened in 2016. But instead of looking at solutions to eradicate the problem that exists, we continue to complain about the problem when the solution once and for all is glaring out there. So the APRC government, for example, thought that by removing that provision of simple majority, because in 2001 elections, I think he got 50-something%. The following elections, I think, was about 60 or 70%. But then that provision had already been removed to serve the purpose of one individual, the interest of one individual. But it actually backfired, because it was simple majority of 18,000 votes that removed him from power. So it's important for us to look at what actually is the problem and what is the solution. That is what is needed. The issue of self-perpetuation, the solution is to vote that person out, irrespective of how that person tries.
Yeah.
How desperate that person is to go to certain lengths. For example, inviting alcalos to State House,
Yeah,
put them in a situation.
that is the next final, and that is the final topic we're going to be talking about, because we're
Okay.
now here. I think we're now here on the 50% mark. That is where I was going to ask you when you lead to that, because the president recently, the same video that is been circulated on social media, it was the when the alcalos and the chiefs went to State House. He invited them. This is something that we were going to talk about, and I think you can just carry on and talk about that, because I was going to ask you, what do you think about that? Because I know that in the constitution, I mean, we said that it was going to be amended in the new constitution, that the new constitution, obviously, but now we've seen that even these alcalos, like you rightly said, they are going to State House. We've seen the system is all broken. You know, it's the same system we're talking about. You can fire away and talk about the alcalos and the chiefs, because to be honest, Gambia, you know, we really need to stop everything that I see. That's why nowadays I'm not even interested on going on social media now, because we don't talk about anything that is really worth talking about. These people are just trying to cut us all the way. For 4 years now, they kept us busy talking about nothing important, nothing that will benefit us. We're always busy talking about the time we sit here talking about. We have the president calling people alcalos and chiefs from God knows every corner of Gambia to come and sit down, only for him and Henry Gomez and his like to sit down and be addressing political nonsense. You know, we have issues, very very important issues to talk about, and this is what they want. They want to distract us so that we can come here talking about people fighting here and there, attestation here and there, nonsense here and there, and we have issues like these kind of very important issues to talk about, and we're not talking about it, Jawo.
Yeah, I think that's a huge problem, because as long as we continue using our intellectual energies, we use other forms of energy to talk about issues that are not actually the solutions to the problems that we are facing, is a non-starter. It's not going to take us
Indeed,
anywhere.
indeed,
Yeah. In terms of
indeed. We even see in parliament, parliamentarians. I was watching it today. I was so ashamed. I see them talking nonsense about all this fighting everywhere, defending in parliament. They are sitting there defending the president, talking about who's insulting the president and who's insulting the vice president, when we have issues, very important issues to talk about. We had the minister of fisheries came last was it last week he came. He was supposed to come back. Yes, I understand that there are procedures, they're following, you know, due process or what have you, but these are some of the things that we should have been talking about for 4 years. We should have been talking about this. We should have had our parliamentarians sit there and ask for these things, because that is what we voted them for. We voted them for them to be there, to be the mouthpiece of the people, to be defending the people, to be talking about the interests of the people. But no, we have parliamentarians who are there and saying, oh, you know, you're insulting the president, or you're insulting the, you know, they're laughing and joking and talking about non-starters. And really, to be honest, is this a shame, Gao?
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of when we speak about the legislature and the fisheries, natural resources that the Gambia has, I think we can have a conversation on that.
Yeah. So
But
you can go ahead and talk about. I just brought that up because at the end of the day, what I see in Gambia really, it does not really motivate anybody, because at the end of the day, when you see what is happening in Gambia, sadly, you just want to cry for Gambia. You want to cry for Gambia. Sadly, we've seen alcalos who are there sitting there. You know, nobody is saying that they shouldn't get involved. We talked about this. They can get. They are citizens. They have the right to get involved in the political arena, but the way in which they're doing it, I think it's wrong. And I don't know. You can go ahead and tell us, what do you think is the solution to avoid these kind of things, that every president that comes will be using these people? for their own interests, for their own political gain, to try to entrench themselves. What do you think? What is the solution to these alcalos and chiefs or what have you? I mean, are we supposed to be carrying on and elect? They don't even elect them. They appoint them. I think the president, the secretary of state, is responsible for local government, isn't it? And they are the one that they consult. I think they consult the divisional commissioner or what have you to make recommendation for some for them to be for alcalos or safos. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. To be appointed. Are we?
Yeah.
Is this right in a democratic nation? Are we?
Yes. So there is a, or there was, or there still is
If
the,
you want to change it, how do we go about ensuring that it's amended? Because in
yeah,
the Constitution, clearly, the 1997 Constitution, that's what it says. But can we do away with this, even if we don't have a new Constitution? What can we do to ensure that this is amended? Because I think this is ridiculous. Because ñoom comme ni ko olof yi waxee rek ku la sañal munal la su fekkee ne président bi moom mooy war a ñëw obviously put people in place, and these people he put in place, they are the people who are going to decide who is going to be making recommendations, who are going to be the alcalo or who are going to be the chief. Obviously, they're going to be nekasi wawi president be. They're just going to be yes sir. They're going to just do what he wants them to do. So is this fair for other people? Is it fair for the community? Is it fair because you are representing a community that different political parties are there? People have different political affiliation. So really, is it fair that the alcalo, if an alcalo is supporting this political party or is supporting the president, obviously is going to be trying to get people to vote for the president? Is this fair in a democratic nation, really?
is not fair. It's also not only a matter of fairness, but is also a reality of potential abuse of power, where one is exercising
Indeed.
power to make somebody who is occupying a certain position to support one politically or risk the potential of losing one's job. That should not happen. But it is the desperation of self-perpetuation that creates the situation where the local government structure, as it existed under the PPP government, there was an attempt to move away from that through the Local Government Act. I think this was in 2002. My understanding is that it has been amended several times to the extent that instead of decentralization and empowerment of local government structures, including alcalos, the amendments has resulted into re-centralization of what should have been the powers of local governments and alcalos and chiefs as what was expected for them as traditional leaders to be part of the local government structure in the Gambia. That is what happened. And that happened precisely because the structure is being used as a vote bank for incumbents, where alcalos and chiefs are given the impression that they should support the government in office. They should support the president, as if they should owe allegiance to that individual instead of the people that they represent. The issue of saying they should not be involved in politics, that is not the issue. No one can.
They're Gambians. They have the right to be involved in politics, obviously.
Exactly. No one can stop any other citizen from being involved in politics, because
I think we have frozen.
We are all political beings, and we have a right to have a say in the government that is going to govern us. But nobody has a right to make it as a condition for one to remain in office, for one to support one person or the other in order to remain in office, in order to continue to be put in a position to serve the Gambian people. That should not happen. But it's happening because of desperation of self-perpetuation. That is the reality. And it doesn't help any country. I give you an example. In 2008, there was famine in Ethiopia. Then I was working with one NGO in London called Christian Aid as their funding officer for East Africa. I traveled from London to Ethiopia. We spent 10 days visiting a number of districts to make an assessment of the impact of the famine and people dying of hunger. Not having anything to eat, you starve to death. The government at the time was saying, Meles Zenawi's government at the time was saying, there was no famine. When my colleagues arrived before me, and when I joined them during the second day, I remember this very community we went to. And the question was asked directly, how many people died in your community? Because when you go in to those communities, the local government office would give you an officer that you should go with. And because the government was saying there was no famine, nobody was dying of hunger, it became a condition for heads of villages also to maintain the same view. Otherwise, they lose their jobs, or even worse.
I think I don't know any.
Yes. So what I'm driving at is the need to have an independent mind without being conditioned by anybody else. So asking the question, how many people died here? They said nobody. So I asked them from July 2006 to July 2007, how many people died? They have their choir books where they enter that data. And then I asked from July 2007 to July 2008, because in July, that was the time we visited. They told me the figure, and there was a huge variance. There were more people who died during July 2007 to July 2008 than the previous year. Now ask, what is the reason behind that? Why this huge difference? They had to look at the local government official, but once the figures are out, you cannot lie. So they have to say X died because they didn't have food, and that's how we started getting information. So what I
think I've lost Abdullah. Okay, you're back again.
What I'm driving at is the need
delay.
Sorry. What I'm saying is the need for anybody who is working in public office to have an independent mind and not be controlled by anybody else, because it would have huge impact, negative impact on what one is able to deliver. That is an extreme situation in Ethiopia. In the Gambia, what is existing, I think it needs to be examined, because if we say all alcalos are put in a situation that they have to vote for or support the president, and
the incumbent.
Each of those alcalos, we're talking about 1,800 plus alcalos throughout the Gambia. Looking at maths, probabilities and possibilities, for example. If we say each alcalo influenced 5 people or 10 people to vote for the president, 10 times...
That's quite a lot.
You're talking about 18,000 people. That was about the same figure that Barrow got.
That's a lot.
To defeat Yahya Jammeh. So essentially, what is happening is that the local government system, the alcalos and chiefs, are being prepositioned as a voter bank for the president. That is what is happening.
I think Abdullah, it's breaking. You're breaking. The internet is breaking.
Sorry, I'm hearing you. I don't know what is happening. So what I'm saying is, if you look at 1,800 alcalos, and each of those are in a position to influence 5 people or 10 people, you're talking about 18,000 people. That was the figure that Barrow got to defeat Yahya Jammeh, for example. Is desperation that they are being, the system is created where they would continue, local government structure and traditional structures would continue to be prepositioned as a voter bank for the ruling government. That's the reality.
Yeah, that is indeed. So that is the reason why I think, just like you said, people should have independent mind. But unfortunately, in Gambia, the system is put in such a way that only the president and those in power will benefit. Because to avoid that, I think the best thing we could do is to say that, you know what, the alcalos and the chiefs should be elected by the people who they are representing. Because if they are elected by the people who are representing, instead of trying to make a president win or trying to work, campaign or what have you for the president, they are going to focus on the people and they will be thinking about themselves instead of answerable to the president. But you know, comme ni ko waxee rek wax naa ko dama ko waxaat ku la munal sañal la su fekkee ne the president gave them job, clearly they're going to be working because they will want to continue being there. And also, I think some of these people, is it the position? Is it inherited? Do they have to, like, somebody will inherit the position from their dad, from their parents, or what have you? Is it still on like that? Is it the chiefs or the alcalos who does that? Is that, I don't get that part. Which of them? I know that is they are appointed. Is it the? I think it's the alcalos, isn't it? I don't think it's the chiefs. The
Yeah.
alcalos, is it? Do people have to inherit the? Because I was hearing that some areas in the Congo, people were fighting who are going to be inheriting the position. Is is it is that the case in some areas as
Yes,
well?
I think one may need to have a relook at the original Local Government Act of 2002. I think the provision was that
Okay.
those positions would be elective positions, but
Okay, it would be elected.
amendments made where the chiefs are appointed and alcalos are also appointed under the chiefs.
Yeah, because when I check the constitution, it says that CFO and alcalos are appointed. They are
Yes.
appointed because that I think that's what I saw there. I saw that they are appointed. The president will appoint them. Obviously, the president will, they will consult the secretary of state responsible for local government. That is what it says. But clearly, these people are put there by the president. I think this is what the system itself, just like you said, is a system completely. The system need to be changed. We need to have a government where even those who are civil servants should, like everybody else, we are not, civil servants should just be there. They should not be involved in politics. They should just be people loyal to the oath, not the president or anybody. But when we have a system that whenever a president comes and they move people who are there, they bring their own people. These people are there for the president and they are there for whoever put them there. I think this is the system we have. And unfortunately, until we have a PDIS government, obviously, we're going to have to continue having the same system apply. So I'm just going to allow you, because this is the 1 hour mark, I'm just going to allow you to summarize and do you say your final thoughts, and then we will wrap it up because it's 1 hour, and then perhaps we will come back another time to talk about the issue of the perhaps the parliamentarians and other issues. I mean, it was really great to have you on board today. Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yaida, for having me. I think on the issue of alcalos, just to reiterate, nobody is saying anybody should not be involved in politics.
No, we're not saying that.
I think that is what was being mentioned, that they've been told not to be involved in politics. What need to be emphasized is that each Gambian should have his or her free mind, listen to all political parties, and have the freedom to make a decision which party one is going to vote for. Some of the alcalos speaking there have been mentioning figures in terms of how many of them are farmers.
I think I've lost you there, Abdullah. Just like Abdullah was okay.
Yeah, the interest there
I
for
think I
such
lost you
people.
there. It keeps going in and
Breaking.
out. Yes, we're not saying that they should not be involved in politics, like Abdullah said. What we're saying here is these people should not be loyal to the president. They should be loyal to the people. They are there for the people, not for the president. They are Gambians like everybody else. They have the right to participate in politics, but the way in which they're doing their job or whatever role they're doing, the people, they are representative of the people. That is what we're saying. They can involve in politics. If you can hear me, Abdullah, you can talk because
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah,
Okay,
either.
you can carry on. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can carry on.
the freedom to have an independent mind is fundamental in order for one to determine or decide which party one is going to support. Because one would always support one party or the other. What should not happen is for one to be put in a situation where one has to support one party or one personality or have negative impact on one's position. That is an injustice, and it should not happen. It is not creating a level election field in the Gambia. This was what the coalition provided for, to ensure electoral reforms are made to enable each candidate, each political party to win or to lose elections based on their own merits, so that there is no abuse, there is no unfairness, there is no inducement, and there is no intimidation. Because in this instance, one can call it inducement. Support me and you remain in power. You don't support me, you may lose your position. That is intimidation. That should not happen. It's not a level playing field that we are talking about at all. So in summary, what exists in the Gambia is the need to move away from sentiments, the need to look at the issues that are affecting the lives of the Gambian people, have an understanding of what the causes of those issues are, listen to all political parties, and decide which of those parties is in a better position to support in addressing those problems. If you are a farmer, what is their policy in terms of farming? If you are whatever position, whatever role you are playing in society. And generally, looking at DOI, most people who you speak to will say DOI tells the truth. Dega rek la ñoo wax. But the reality is that truth needs to be translated into reality, because truth is merely truth. No truth can support itself to win the day. It is human beings who support the truth for that truth to stand and win the day for their own benefit. So saying Doi speaks the truth, but they don't win, or I will not vote for them because they would not win. But who would win if you don't vote for that person? Nobody. And the truth will never stand if it is not supported. So saying Doi will not win, but they are telling the truth, basically you are telling people that you have failed because you failed to support the truth, which is going to liberate you, which is going to empower you, to uplift you from the poverty that you are living in. In 2002, there was an assessment of consumption and importation of rice in the Gambia. At that time, the figures were that 50% of rice consumed in the Gambia was imported. Currently, figures are showing up to about 70%.
Wow.
70%. When, if you look at historically, before the production of peanuts became commercialized in the Gambia, for example, going back to 1835 to the 1850s, I think it was 1854, where it became hugely commercialized in the Gambia. Before that time, Gambia was producing enough rice to feed the people who inhabited what is called the Gambia currently. What happened is colonial system implanted in African societies, and leaders who took over after what is called the liberation of the African continent continue to propagate those same systems, which continue to impoverish people in the Gambia and in Africa in general. It is that system that needs to be overhauled. And in Gambia, there is no party in the Gambia that can do that as expected for the benefit of every Gambian except DOI. And that's precisely the reason why people should vote for PDOIS, DOI. Thank you very much, Ida.
Thank you very much. You've all heard him. Only PDOIS can, ñoom rek, they are the only political party that can liberate us from this mental slavery that we have, and also they are the only people who can liberate us from poverty and ignorance, like we always said. So you have to go and register. Abdullah, just like we said, we talked about the issue of registration. I think this is the last week of registration. So we're urging people to continue going out, registering, and get ready to vote. If you want the change that you've been yearning for years, since 2016 or what have you, you have to go and vote. If you don't go and register and vote, your voice doesn't count. We have to go out and register in numbers and vote. And also we're saying thank you very much, Abdullah. I say thank you very much for coming today. We have learned a lot. You have educated us, myself, and many people I'm sure who are watching have learned a lot from you. And definitely we're going to have you another time because we have so many things to talk about. We will have you another time. We are also urging people to go and donate. Go to our website and donate the political party. I've said this every week and we're going to continue saying it. We have our manifesto out there. We are calling people to come and pledge and donate to the political party. £100 if you live in UK, and if you live in Europe, €100, America $100. We are asking those who are sympathizers of DOI. You don't have to be a member of PDOI's party to donate. You can be a sympathizer. You can be somebody who loves to see Gambians liberated. You can go and donate. And not only you are supporting the party, I mean, you can gain knowledge. You can read this manifesto. We have the manifesto. You can go there and read it and keep it. So we're calling for people to continue donating. We have our T-shirts that are available for those of us who are party members, supporters also. We're selling our T-shirts. You can order the T-shirts. Like I said previously, you can contact me, Alaji Job in Germany. We have, some of you who know Jawo, Musa Job. We have Esa Gay. We have Faisuso, Mohamed Rame. These are people, Sheikh Njai in Italy, Safiong. We have all these people who are available, who are representing the party out there, member of the political party. If you want to donate, or you can go to our website, you will see the link there, or you can send messages like I said, or even on this page, we're talking here, you can send a message there. Somebody will get back to you. Please, 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 we all know that we need a lot of logistics to go from Banjul to Koina. And we all know also that politics is about numbers, and also we need the money. So please, Gambia, we are calling all of you who love the party, who support the party, who want to see a better Gambia to please donate. Thank you very much, Jawo, and everybody who was following us today. We are going to be back next week here every Friday. Tomorrow, we are going to be having Musa Job, and also we're going to have Mamadou Aliou Ndiaye, who recently joined the political world, who's going to be supporting PDOIS for December. He's going to be voting. He's a new member. He's a new supporter. We're saying welcome our brother, and we are saying tune in tomorrow 8 p.m. to watch the show. Thank you very much, Gambia. We love you. Bye. Musa jërëjëf ñu ngi wax Musa tamit mi nga nekk moom mi nekk si background bi ñu ngi ko wax ne jërëjëf Musa di thank everybody in the media team. Thank you very much Musa. Thank you jërë ngeen jëf waay Musa.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you Jawo once